My brother Conrad and I were the best of friends. I always considered him, when I talked about him to other people, that he was my best friend all the way through school. Being 15 months difference in age, I was the oldest, and it was wonderful to have him at my 92nd birthday. Now 92nd. See, if Conrad and I were alike in a lot of ways. We liked similar things. We had different hobbies. When we were in grade school and junior high, I made airplanes, and can't remember what he did from my major hobby. But I also raised pigeons and chickens, and he didn't have any interest in that. We were fortunate to have a father that was supportive of his children when they had hobbies, especially my hobby, because it became pretty important to me, and it was one that he had when he was young. Amazing. Well, let's go back to being together in Logan, where we were both born and lived until I was 15, he being 15 months younger, moving to Salt Lake City. But I'm thinking of Woodruff School on First West and First South in Logan. Beautiful old building that was grade school through the 6th grade, and we were there from grade 1 through 6, and then went to junior high together, 1 year apart again, of course. When we were grade school, we lived on 2nd West and Center Street in a big home that Dad acquired when he was a general agent for Texaco Oil, and had a agency in North Logan. And I remember him buying a new beautiful red oil truck to transport gas and oil all around the Cache Valley and southern Idaho area. Too much?
No, it's great. We want to hear everything.
But what happened at that time, after the business was going well and everything growing, he hired a member of the family. I'm not sure whether it was a brother or a cousin, I can't remember. But he left the thing that turned the gas on and off after you've been using it, and during the night the gas came out of that big standing tall container, and all of the gas was lost. So that became a financial burden for him to have to try to pay that back to Texaco. In fact, it ended in his changing his career to a traveling agent for women's clothing instead of that. But while we were there, that big house was full of nice furniture and everything, and then we moved because of that financial problem he had. We moved to this other house on First West across from Woodruff School, and we were there until we moved to Salt Lake. While we were in this house on First West and First South, that's where Conrad referred to a story about our dad inviting all of us 3 boys to go to Ogden with him in a flatbed truck, and he had arranged for purchase of a Shetland pony, a brown, black, and white Shetland pony that was even well trained, and the owner had his children even show in horse shows, and so it's a pretty little pony that he had purchased, and we transported him on that flatbed truck back to Logan,
Mm.
and for many years enjoyed a lot of fun with that pony. But it was that pony that Mother used to put Louis, our brother Louis, on the pony, and Mother would lead the pony from there to Grandmother Owen's home occasionally, and Louis on top. But this one day, Louis fell from the pony and hit the curb and with his knee, and it became painful and sore, and finally developed into osteomyelitis, and finally took his life at 6 years age.
Mm.
But Conrad elaborated a little bit about how Louis was in the primary children's hospital here in Salt Lake, and very ill, and they couldn't do much more for him because of his illness. And he used to, though, when anybody had come and visit him, like missionaries or nurses or somebody, he would ask them to sing a song with him. Jesus wants me for a sunbeam. He had an intuition somehow that he was going to die at some point. He told Mother that when we lived across the street from Woodruff School, that he would never go to school there. And she tried to get him to say why, and he said, I just won't be there. And which was true, he never did. But they finally moved him back to Logan, and moved a bed in the living room so he could look out the window in the front of the house, see activity across the street with the school kids, and us playing in the front yard. But he very quickly got worse because of the osteomyelitis just covering his whole body, and it was very painful for him to do much moving around. And do it, I guess. Well,
he's so sweet.
to kind of finish the story about Louis, Mother called us all in when he was having a bad day and wanted us to visit with him because she was sure that he was not going to live much longer. And so I remember us gathering around his bed and talking to him and trying to cheer him up and getting a little emotional about the whole thing, and so anyway, that was
How
an
old would you
interesting day. But wasn't very long after that he called Mother in and said he had been asleep, and he awakened and said, will it hurt me if I take a trip? And she said, what do you mean? And well, a lady came and said that she was going to come back and take me on a trip. And Mother said, well, who was that? And he couldn't say, but Mother felt like it was her mother or somebody on the other side that had gone. Who would that be? I can't remember. And
Grandmother Hansen's mother is.
But he said further that
Karen Marie, I think it was Karen Marie, they said it was your dad's mother.
Dad's mother is what it was. And he further told Mother that there would be a little boy with him, and he'd have a wagon, and I could ride in a wagon with him, and we would have fun and be together. We think that was our brother Richard that passed away when he was 2.
Mm.
Mother didn't get to raise him. And so soon after that he passed away. And enough detail.
Oh, no, tell us more.
More about going back to Logan. We had some interesting experiences there when we lived in a green shingled house on Second West and First South. First West and First South detail. With Beauty, the little pony, I remember times on the front yard where we played cowboy, and she would be good enough with us that we could run behind her and jump up over her back and land on her back. Sometimes we'd fall and sometimes we wouldn't. And I remember a long ride that I had with Beauty with my dad. He had another horse, 2 horses at the time, and they were kept in a barn next door and way in the back. They had a barn, and he released the barn from them with these 2 horses. And we used to have to, when it was cold weather, the water would run through the pipes to the trough for the horses. So we'd take the horses by lead and down the street and cross the street. There was a river that ran from through the city past the high school and on down west. And we'd take the horses down by the side of that, and they'd drink their fill, and then we'd just, with a halter, let them go, and they'd just go back to the barn down that long drive. And one time I was going too fast down that lane. The horse was going too fast, and when it came time to stop, I told him to stop, and he stopped with 2 front feet, and I went over his head and down right in front of his feet, and laid there and looked up at him, and he just stayed there till I moved away, and I didn't get hurt, but it was an experience for sure. We did that for a couple of years while Dad was traveling, and he'd come home and check on us to see if we'd fed the horses and watered the horses and fed the chickens. And he came home one time, and he didn't like the pigeons were not taken care of properly. The pen was not clean, and I was responsible for that. So I learned my lesson. He just turned them out and said, "Okay, here they go. There you." And so a few of them got out and started flying away, but most of them didn't get out. So I was able to get the ones that were out back in the coop, and I never did let the coop get dirty again.
What'd your mother do? Didn't your grandmother have gardens and flowers and?
In that backyard, we didn't have any grass even. Dad didn't take an interest, I guess, or it cost money and didn't do it. And, so we had in the back corner a pigeon coop that Dad helped me put together, and then another shed that was a little further away that I was able to have some chickens and put a few chickens in it. Anyway, where was it going with that?